Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Kaiju number 8, Season 2, Episode 4. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So immediately picking up in the aftermath of last episode, it seems like they've dealt with the Kaiju number 9s in front of them. And I love where it seems like Isao is kind of like, he's about to say something either like, okay, good, you guys accomplished, or he was going to say there's still more to do. But before he can even say, Kikuro was like, no, we still got some kaijus, because not all of the, because some of the, was it Yanju, end up like dying after 9 is taken care of, but there's still some of them that need to be worked through. So they kind of finally swoop in and they kind of wipe out the rest of them. And in this moment, like Isao, hearing that from his daughter, like her kind of taking command, being like, nope, it's not done. We're not done until the job's done. And you can tell that makes him so proud. And to the point, he talks to Narumi, Kaka, and Kikuro and lets them all know they did a good job. And you see that means the world to Kikuro. Because her dad's always kind of been tough on her, he's probably never, like, as we saw last season, he was never the type to be like, congratulations. It's like, don't kind of rest on your laurels. You got this. Be better. This is the bare minimum. You shouldn't like be praised for doing the bare minimum. Even being exemplary and stuff like that, you know, is being the bare minimum. So it means the world to Kikuro. But then, you know, Narumi's like, something's not right. This thing planned on killing Kaiju number 8, but it kept saying, like, your power is going to be mine. So, like, what did he mean by that? And then we find out that this was a decoy. I figured as much because I'm like, this thing can make multiples of its bodies. There's no guarantee it would risk putting itself out there in the field unless it had a guarantee that it was going to win. And the fact is, it bothered splitting itself into 2. Why not make more? Because maybe that's all it can muster to do what it needed to do, because the rest of it had to be like put into reinforcing its own body, because it snuck into headquarters, because it's specifically after Isao, because it needs to gather up as much power as possible so that it can go after Kaiju number 8, because it keeps getting stronger and exceeding its expectations. So it's like, right, I definitely need to go into this battle with Kaiju number 8, testing itself a little bit, but also like to see if like I you know, also prepare myself and arming myself. So it's going after Narumi right now wasn't going to be the easiest thing. So Isao, being as strong as he is and having Kaiju number 2 as a weapon, it's like he's someone to be weary of. So it's like, right, it goes after him, and Isao doesn't even bat an eye. It's like, yo, get the rest of everybody out of here. And that one guy that was like that technician that was still left behind, Isao protected him. And it's like, right, he's after the Kaiju number 2 weapon. We can't let him get it. And for him, it's like, I'm going to put my life on the line. And we also, like, for one, Isao is going to protect anyone. But I believe that technician's name is, I think, Kurusu or whatever the case may be. I might be misremembering. But he's someone that's looked up to Isao since he was a kid. And it's like, you're the main reason why I wanted to join the defense force, and he's worked his way up, and he's worked beside Isao all the way through. And so when everyone else is evacuated, Isao's going up against 9, but he's got a reinforced body and he's stronger, even to the point Isao was like, one blow wasn't even enough. In fact, he like kind of beat Isao back. But then the limiters start coming off, and Kurusu was like, no, like, let me stay by your side, even to the very end. I'll kind of help you through this, you know. So they start removing the limiters, and he's putting everything he can into this. And it's still not enough, because even with that, like, one clashing blow after he's powered up to, like, I don't think it was like 100. I think it's like 90-something%. He pushed himself, but it still wasn't enough to, like, fully win the battle, because Kaiju number 9 ends up, like, hurting his arm, but it also, Isao ends up hurting its arm as well. And this is where we get some interesting insight. Like I said, last episode, I pointed out some stuff like I'd never really considered about why Isao was so hard on Kikuro, because it was his way of like, I want to make sure you're prepared for whatever the world throws at you. Like, your mom like was taken from us way too soon, and the kaiju threat continues to get worse and worse. I want to make sure that if anything ever happens to me, that you'll be okay, that I know for a fact you'll come out on top and you'll be okay. So that's why he pushed her, especially with the flashback adding the context of her being like, his wife being like, oh, her saying she wants to join kind of caught me off guard. But he's like, yeah, it's expected of someone of the Shinomiya family. But she's like, yeah, but I saw you. You were actually kind of blatantly happy. But she's like, well, it's kind of scary because it's dangerous, this job, but I'll harden myself, harden my heart so that I can train her. And she's like, then that's going to be up to you, Isao, to like spoil her. And now it adds once again so much more context, because I'd already said, like, you know, just like I just said, like Isao was tough on her for the sake of making her stronger, but it's also because he had to fill in for her mom, because her mom wasn't around to be the hardening her heart. So it's like, your mom isn't here to do this, I'll step into that role. You know, I have to do double duty, but he kind of filled more so the role of what, because he's like, and I think in his mindset, it's like with the dangers of the Kaiju's getting more and more, you being even more motivated to be part of the defense force, and I know you're not going to back down, then I'm going to fill in the role for your mom. I'm going to harden my heart. You know, and even he says, like, as a father, I know I didn't do a single thing for you, but for him, it's like, the least I can do is take out Kaiju number 9, so there's one less nightmare that you have to deal with. And it's just like, the sad thing is, like, and especially after Kikoru just had that moment with her dad, which for the first time ever, he told her he was proud of her. He always has been, but he felt he had to be tough on her to, you know, it's like, because I was trying to do what your mom wanted to do, I couldn't do what she wanted me to do, and that was to spoil you. And it's just like, you didn't have that, but it's like, because I needed to make sure you were okay and that you were prepared. And it's just, for that, and just for that alone, to protect everyone, especially kind of brighten the future, you know, because we see with the flashback with Narumi that he had told Narumi, like, I'm going to back away from, like, the moment the strongest division is fully established, I'm going to back away from the front lines. And he's like, I'm going to need you. So I don't know if like Narumi is being set up to be his successor. I'm sure he's probably, like, later down the line, maybe it's going to be Kikoru. Maybe Narumi will stay in his position, or maybe it'll be like Narumi eventually takes Isao's position and Kikoru eventually takes Narumi's, because he even said, like, the way Kikoru is now, it's like, right, he's like, it was the same way with Narumi. So I could definitely see her taking over the first division as he kind of fills her father's shoes. But because of that, he was always going to back away. And especially, like, I think they said, like, any numbered weapon, when you push yourself like that, it always going to shorten your life. I don't think it's just specific to number 2, but I think it's he's had number 2 for so long, and he's pushed himself so much with number 2 to that point. But I don't know, maybe that is a misunderstanding on my part. Maybe it is mainly, maybe number 2 shortens your life more than any other weapon. Especially, like, when you push yourself beyond your limits. And especially, sadly, the others, his friends and allies, couldn't help him, because they're like, we are just going to get in the way. And so he's pushing his body to the point that it's like, if he does this, he'll never be able to fight again. But for him, it's like, I'm willing to sacrifice that. I was already going to back away from the front lines. It's well worth it to put it all on the line for my child, you know. In this moment, it's like, I can never do anything for her, but I can do this. And so, but the problem is, this thing is so much stronger, and so when he hits it with a blow that's basically Kaiju number 2's like most powerful attack, he's able to kind of mold his body in defense form. And it's like, oh, like, my core's right here, but you won't be able to get to it. But the problem is, like, he wasn't expecting is, like, Isao has a second shot. Normally that first shot would be enough to shatter any human, but Isao's strong as hell, that strong will that put everything on the line, and he goes for a second shot. And I love the impact of that when it just, like, blasts past 9 and then, like, hits a building in the distance. But sadly, it wasn't enough. You know, it's like, if Isao was a kaiju doing that, had the body of a kaiju, it's one thing, but because he was a human, he didn't have enough in him to do it. If he could have gotten off a third shot, he would have killed this thing, because his defenses weren't able to completely block the attack, but it was enough that his 2 shots couldn't hit the core, and it gave 9 enough time to regenerate and strike. And Isao's still conscious enough, like, even though he's kind of unconscious, he's still enough in his body, like, move, one more shot, that's all I need. But he doesn't have a chance, and in that moment, Kaiju number 9 absorbs him, and it's just like, damn. And by the time Narumi and Kafka get there, and Kikoro, it's already over. You know, I guess, like, this is, like, essentially what happened to Kafka last season, because of the Kaiju inside of him doing a similar thing. And now this thing not only ended up absorbing like such a capable host body, but also took Kaiju number 2 into it, like absorbed all that power from that weapon. So this thing is just that much stronger. So obviously, like the fusion isn't fully complete because it's like my body kind of goes through some stuff when I kind of like absorb and morph like this. So he was planning on bailing, but even Narumi's strikes weren't enough. Even in this state, this thing is still too strong for Narumi to deal with. And then like Kafka tries to attack as well, but it blocks Kafka's attack because it absorbed him. Like this thing is quick on the uptake, so it like learned from watching Kafka fight its copy earlier that it's like, right, I see you coming, plus I'm stronger and faster too on top of that, and I learned pretty quickly. So they're not going to be able to kill this thing, sadly. You want them to be able to nip it in the bud, but that's not going to be the case. That's what I was curious about. I'm wondering, is 9 just going to be the main antagonist for the rest of the like series, or is some other kaiju going to step into its path? I don't know. It's a very heartbreaking episode that it's come down to this, but once again, Isao was always prepared, and that's the nature of this job. But it sucks because it's just like the back to back, like getting the flashbacks about Kikuro's mom last episode, and now her dad, and it's just like this is the only family she had left. But I think that's also the point too, that she's built a family and people she wants to fight for and protect. But the sad thing is, we know Kikuro like felt like she was a liar and failure because she couldn't protect her mom. It's like, I promised I'd protect her, but I couldn't. And also probably her thinking like, no one can ever take my dad down, and like to know that he's gone and that this thing is parading around using his body, it's even more frustrating. So that's going to be the motivation she needs. Like this isn't going to break her, but it will be the thing that push her even more. And she was already pushing herself, but we'll see how this all plays out, because I'm sure this thing is just going to end up getting away. They're not going to like full on fight it. Like they might fight it a little next episode, but it's not going to go the way they want it, and this thing is most likely going to escape. So, and the more it assimilates with his body, the more it like is able to kind of just like fully sync up and everything. That much stronger it's going to be, because this is kind of the time. Like this will be in its new state. This will probably be the weakest it's ever been. Because it's still fragile from the fight with Isao, and like assimilating with his body isn't like the synchronization hasn't like fully 100% set in. I'm sure also with Kafka's situation last season, it probably makes him feel like maybe we can get to Isao, like maybe he's still somewhere in there, but Kaiju number 9's like, no, he's dead. I've taken his body, and I think that is true, but we'll see whether there's validity to that or not. It's probably going to take like a full-blown assault and gathering of a lot of people. But I think division number 1 is probably going to be the one. The first division is going to be the one who's going to take this on. Like Narumi, Kikuro, and Kafka are all going to feel like extra pushing themselves to see this through. That this isn't going to be any other divisions. I mean, even though this hits every division, it hits the defense force as a whole, I think they are going to be the ones like, this needs to be us who takes this thing down, because they all owe him so much. Narumi, Kikuro obviously, but even Kafka, because it's like, you're the one, when no one else was going to, you still took a chance on me, you believed in me and gave me this opportunity, and I'm not going to waste it. The future that he's left to them, because he believes them to be the next generation, and he feels like, I want to do this last thing because I know the generation under me, this new generation, I see the bright future ahead of them. I know how strong they are, and I'm leaving this world in such capable hands. Obviously, to end this off on a more chipper note, even though it's still going to be sad and depressing, there's the little Hoshino, like, post-credit little thing where he has this little show, and he's talking to Isao and the that other commanding officer. And we learn a little bit more about Isao, that it's like, oh, I heard that you watch videos about animals. And he was like, yes. It's like apparently his favorite animals are cats, and he keeps around a cat toy just to be able to like play with cats. And it's like, oh, do you want me to bring Bako over? And it's like, oh, you'll do that, and brings him over. It's like, oh, it's much bigger than Isao was accounting for. It's like the fact is he got like a scratching post for it, but obviously we're talking about a full-blown tiger, and obviously the cat toy he has is way too small. So it was just kind of a nice thing. I mean, it plays into like him being this big, stern-looking guy, but kind of having this very softer side to him. But also, I think you could probably make some correlation to like there's a little bit of like that tiger in him and his daughter, so like him being a cat person fits very nicely with their personality. So just kind of a cute little nice thing at the end of what is a sad episode, and with everything with the Isao of it all. But yeah, we'll ultimately have to wait to see where next episode ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.